Good afternoon, everyone. I think we're going to get going here. Welcome to this BD West Inspiration Track session. This is Imagine, a No Boundaries forecast. A little bit of housekeeping before we get going. I want to remind you that this course is AIA and IDCDC approved. To receive credits, you got to sign in prior to the start of the course. And for IDCDC credit, have your CEU verification form signed prior to exiting, and also self-report your credit, and then the IAI credits will be reported for you. So I hope that covers that. And let's get started. My name is Matthew Hall. I'm editor of Boutique Design Magazine, and I'm going to be moderating this session, which asks this basic question: what will hotel lobbies, restaurants, guest rooms, and suites look like in the year 2050? We challenged some of the leading designers in the world to imagine what guests and clients will want roughly 35 years from now in each of those different spaces. So here to weigh in on this intriguing topic we're starting off with Natalie Smith, who's Vice President of Hospitality Interiors at HKS, and she's going to be talking about the lobby of the future. After that will be Tina Norden, Project Director at Conran and Partners. I have all my notes slow, so I'll work on that. And she's going to be talking about restaurants. Next up will be Marshall Drake, Vice President at Brayton Hughes Design Studio. He's going to be talking about the guest rooms in the year 2050. After that will come Carl Ross, who's apparently sitting up here with Clear on Black thoughts. He's President and CEO of Clear on Black, and he's going to be looking at the suites of the future. And then the last presenter is a little bit different, but we thought it was a good fit. It's Darrell Long. He's Partner and Design Director at HBA. And he's going to take us through a decade by decade look at what the next 50 years might bring for hotels. And the way this came about was the firm had just celebrated its own 50th anniversary last year. And as part of that, the Singapore office, I believe it was the Singapore office, had put together a decade by decade look at what the next 50 years might bring for hotels. So again, it's a little bit different than the rest of the mix, but I think you'll find it to be kind of a fascinating episode. And I did want to add that this is not just some kind of crystal ball gazing, pie in the sky speculation. In talking with these folks, they've done some solid research about some best estimates of where the design of hotels is headed. I think you're going to be intrigued and inspired, and then some. I've had a sneak peek at some of the presentations today, and I think it's really going to be kind of a little wild ride. One other housekeeping note: once we're through with the presentations, we're going to have some back and forth up here on the podium about what we've just seen, and then of course we'll have some time at the end for questions from the audience. Next, we're going to have Carl from Clear on Black, and he's going to be looking at the suites of the future. So we're going to expand the floor plate a little bit here. Carl.
Thank you all very much for coming, and I really want to thank my fellow panelists because you guys have brought up some really interesting things. I mean, it's a bit of a daunting task when you say, okay, well, just go ahead and throw out to 2050. Yeah, no big deal. Yeah, well, so for us, this is about our future. This is about 2050, and it's about really no limits. So first, as I approached this, I started thinking, okay, so in order for us to march out 30 some odd years, you've got to have some kind of a basis of design, some filters, some way to evaluate what's out there. So I started doing some research, and so I look at it this: identify the global influences, the attributes, the controls and constraints which bring us to this point 34 years out. So what might those look like? What are those things? Because before I can start to draw a bed or a suite table or something, what do we have out there? How do we get here? So what's going to transpire? So to stay objective, I looked at, okay, I'll go to World Economic Forum, and I'll go to physicists, and I'll go to things, and see what those people say, because they're far better equipped than I am to say what's out there. So what I look at is, I'm going to give you a little tour de force of bits and pieces, and I took some highlights and I scrubbed the predictions pretty strongly. So these are the hot spots of what I thought would be pretty profound influencers for where we may end up. America's the power shift destabilizing the Asia-Pacific region. The internet use reaches 5 billion worldwide. It's currently at 2 billion, and this is only a few years away. Texting by thinking. That's a nice one. How do you monetize that? Some of the things I also found aren't wonderfully fun feeling. 30,000 drones patrolling our skies in America. 2021, mind-reading technology being deployed for security purposes. The world's largest insect swarm re-emerges. Wireless electricity is reaching critical mass. Germany phases out nuclear power, and water is becoming a weapon of war. So think about the resources that we have and what we don't have, maybe. I don't know. 2025, brain implants to restore lost memories. It can't happen soon enough, I'm telling you. Because, what was I? Borneo's rainforests have been wiped from the map. Gorillas and rhinos going extinct. 3D printing of human organs. Buildings becoming digitally programmable. Basically, think of it this way, as architectural shape-shifting based on the use and function of buildings. Single-use building all of a sudden shifting to be different kinds of groups adapted. Does it instantly partition itself off? There are some really fascinating consequences that as you project out, that could be a really interesting thing. This is for you. UK population reaches 70 million, currently at 64. You have some more friends.
We haven't got a lot of space though.
Yeah, no. And this is a theme that I started to see, is that human artificial intelligence has become a reality. And you'll see that a little bit more as we get a bit farther in here. Lake Chad disappears from the map. Resurrection of several extinct species has been achieved. So while we lose some, maybe we gain some back. Amputees now able to regrow lost limbs. The wreck of the Titanic has fully decomposed. Sorry, Leonardo. 2033, artificial intelligence is now widespread. Depression is the #1 global disease burden. Bangkok is abandoned due to flooding. Stem cell pharmacies are commonplace. This is a sad one. Chocolate has become a rare luxury. I know, right? Holographic wall screens. And Marshall kind of touched on this, and Natalie and Tina as well. It's like, okay, so what's out there technology-wise? Lung disease in China has killed 80 million. 2039, final collapse of the European Union. The Arctic is ice-free during September. Alzheimer's disease is fully curable. Bionic eyes surpassing human vision. This one is pretty interesting. Beam me up, okay? Teleportation of complex organic molecules. So Matthew kind of touched on that, like, so how do we get to the guest room? Well, maybe you just reappear. Full immersion virtual reality. So virtual telepathy is dominating personal communications. Global population reaches 9 billion, currently 7.4. Humans are becoming intimately merged with machines. Air accident fatalities have been eliminated. Our Gulf Coast cities are abandoned due to super hurricanes. 49, genetically engineered designer babies for the rich. Marketing opportunities for those of you out there. This is in sales. Fully autonomous, intelligent military aircraft. High-tech, intelligent buildings revolutionize the urban landscape. And one that really scared the hell out of me, the wine industry has been severely altered by climate change. We need to take steps, people. Okay, so 2050, we've hit the threshold. We're at the doorstep. Travel is strictly regulated due to global, social, and environmental risks. Half of the Amazon rainforest has been deforested. All the materials used for construction are either synthetic or salvaged. No natural wood, no stone. We've used it all up. We burned it up. All remaining plants and animals may become the exclusive kept property of the ultra-rich. Think of a book collection that's just a little bigger. Synthesized hybrid species of animals and plants proliferate. So now we're getting to kind of play chemist. So possible sweet eventualities. No human staff is needed because of artificial intelligence. They're more efficient, 100% uptime, no unions. Since all electricity is wireless, therefore no device controls are needed. Telepathic controls of your built space. Lights down, lights up, sound off, hot water. Available library of branded dreams and in-suite experiences. Now imagine that. You sign up for a dream one night. It's like, well, I'd kind of like to hang out with, yeah, okay. Synthesized smart materials are used for the building. Clothing, FF&E, and decoration. Nanotechnology taken to a much, much higher level. The hotel infrastructure systems are an extension of a seamless healthcare and nutritional network. Part hotel, part hospital. So what might those built spaces, envisioned spaces look like out there in the future? Yeah, we'll have water, and I like some of the things that you all brought up about, there's going to be things that we're going to have. There will be water. Maybe there's boats. Maybe they float in the air. I don't know. So, an urban hotel. So now I'm taking a stab here and saying, all right, the suite porte cochere, private entry. It's completely regulated, and it's very personalized. The reception chamber. So the functions and the amenities in the suite. No luggage is required. Clothing is 3D modeled from body scans and instantly created with nanotech fabric tailored exactly to each guest. So you walk in, you're scanned, your clothing is awaiting you in your room. All personal body care, nutritional, and health product files are kept in a global database, and goods are delivered to the suite prior to your arrival. Artificial attendance, service, pleasure, security, all in one. Floor, wall, and ceiling surfaces are nanoskin wrapped to allow guests to change color, textures, materials at will. It makes for an interesting renovation. Yeah. FF&E elements and bath functions change shape, location, size, and material to auto-fit the guest's anthropometric and physical needs. So it changes what the ADA compliance issues could be. Kind of interesting. Like, well, I'm 5'8", somebody's 7'6", things change, move. So what might that look like? Well, if we talk about holographic projections, I think flat screens are a thing of the past. I think that as you sit on that sofa and you see that guy come out of the wall and you're all of a sudden in that movie and you're watching it, you could reach out and almost touch that. Suite living room and a staircase up to an upper bedroom. I like that. The love bubble, yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. And recreation pods. So how you entertain and how you enjoy the experiences in your suite. We'll leave it at that. Refreshment bar possibilities. The master bedroom, Oculus in the ceiling. Connection to the galaxy, connection to outer space and travel, because some of the pieces that I read of future travel, and there's a lot of predictions about going into space, and we see that kind of stuff and it's like, no way, right? Well, we don't know. So thank you. That's it. Credits, and there we go.
Thank you, Carl. Some provocative stuff there, and I think we're going to, that'll help feed a little bit of a discussion here on well, we've had quite a little time tour here today, and what I wanted to do was, based on the presentations, just have a little bit of back and forth up here on the podium in terms of any specific or more general points that were made here. As we went through, and so I'm just going to kind of open it up here. I've got a few things I can throw, but I have a feeling there's a few down here, and our time is limited, so I want to make sure that you guys get a little bit of a crossfire going here. So, Carl, would you like to kick us off?
Wow.
No pressure.
So, I guess when we're presented with completely independent projections, there are some threads, some continuities of this stuff, and I think as human beings, we are ever hopeful. We want to do well. We want to prosper. We want our species to grow and continue. And I think that there, at some point, needs to be some stewardship and some responsibility. And I think that, despite the negative stuff that may be out there in the future, I think that we are unending in trying to find better solutions, healthier things. Yeah, we're doing bad things to the planet, and I think that is going to change because we've been here in such a tiny window of time, and we're so introspective, and there's so many different directions that we're taking this place. So I think that awareness and a little bit of a social conscience in a way is a way to drive forward and push that. I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think?
I think it also could be because of, our industry's been over the past 20 years kind of lazy. I mean, if you come up with something interesting, time plus brilliance becomes complacency. So I think over the past 5 years, through just, whether it be the brands or the designers, we're all trying to do something more cool and more creative with these parameters that we've all talked about. It's kind of forcing us to do something better and something different. And we're now kind of inventing the tools to do it.
Well, also, I feel like, in the past, there hasn't been a heavy emphasis on green building and sustainability. And, over the years, it's definitely grown a lot, and I think we'll continue to see it grow in the future. And now we're actually hearing from owners a lot more that we actually, they do want to use low flow toilets and all the things that save them money on the bottom line, because it really in the past has been all about money, and they didn't want to do something green because they thought it cost more. And I think now we're becoming more educated on it, and they're becoming more aware, and I think it's just going to continue to push.
I think what was interesting was everybody up here actually talked about the fact that human beings are kind of human beings, and there's certain facts that, whether it's physiological or whether it's something that is on our mind, that just will not change. And the physical expression of it might change, and we might be on mobile phones now, but that's still about connecting with people. It's still about socializing. We need to sleep, we need to eat. I think those kind of things will always stay the same. And the interesting thing is that we hope that's right. But the interesting thing is that fundamentally that will always be the starting point for anything any of us will do. And that's reassuring when you hear some of the facts that you were talking about, that are pretty freaky, and very dark. I think that somehow humanity shines through, and I think that's what design in the end of the day is all about.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that I thought in looking at this, we had some things that were fairly specific and then some big picture things, but what I didn't know, or what in terms of just that kind of continuity, I was wondering if anybody kind of pushed it past the idea of, and maybe it's just something that would be longer in the future, but Carl, you talked about, some of the 3D printing and just kind of, so that would obviously change kind of the layout and so forth. But what if we got to a place where basically technology come to a place where we didn't need to sleep anymore?
That would be depressing.
That would be depressing. I agree.
That'd be like design school.
But again, okay, it might just be something that rather than 50 years out in the future, might be a millennia or two. But it was interesting to me that again the idea was that there was going to be some constancy to this, that the technological envelope is going to evolve. But that when it comes right down to it, the basic experience and the basic need and desire that hotels fulfill is kind of still there.
I think in a similar way, obviously someone invented food for astronauts that they can take up there and they kind of intravenously or swallow a pill or whatever. Hasn't really taken on with all of us, has it? Because actually we enjoy eating and we like the kind of pleasure of food and whatever. And I think,
we enjoy sleeping.
Sleeping is exactly the same, isn't it? So I think there's certain things that I think we as humans are quite stubborn about that we want to kind of stick with because it's actually enjoyable.
Well, and also, Matthew, think about the purpose of what you're doing. Yeah, eating is pleasurable, but it's also nutrition. And, okay, yeah, you can get it intravenously and you can take a pill and like you said, it's not satisfying. But for sleep, what if we expanded the purpose of sleep? What if that became another reality that you could extend in? And it's not your straight 8 hours, maybe it's 72 hours, maybe it's 6 weeks and you're asleep and you go and travel and you do all kinds of stuff, and yet you never leave that space in your room.
High-tech hibernation, huh?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
There's actually a big thing in your presentation where you talked about that travel might be restricted in the future, which actually that fundamentally affects any of us, doesn't it? Because if people don't travel as much anymore, then you don't need hotels.
And so is it because of the fuel cost? Is it because of technological stuff? Is it because personal risk? Is it related to only the ultra rich, or it's the backpackers? What happened to the family vacation in the station wagon rolling across the country? So what's the purpose of travel at that point?
We'll be dead when that happens.
No.
Well, we are getting close to the top of the hour, and as promised, I just want to make sure that I give an opportunity for any questions from the audience. If you do have one, we've got a mic up here that you could use so that everybody can hear it. But again, did want to open it up and see if anybody had any questions for our panelists here.
Come up.
Don't be shy.
Be that guy, Rich.
I think looking back 34 years to what was predicted now is an illuminating way, and I think some of you touched on that, to figure out where we're going to be. It always seems that our future, the way we envision it, is somehow sterile, lacking in color, that somehow we envision modernism and evolution to be the same picture all the time, but some variation of it, and yet here we are today, very similar to where we were, I think, 35 years ago in terms of the substance of living and eating and so forth. Things that haven't changed that spectacularly, I don't think, or lack of comfort, right? You look at pictures of what we are doing today 30 years ago, and you're sitting on this terrible chair that nobody is going to pay for at a hotel today, and so of course doesn't exist. So I think part of the answer is it's not going to change that much. I know we're here to find out what the revolution is going to be, but it's probably going to be incremental evolution and not so much different from today, unless there is a huge, what you said was really struck me, is that something as paradigm shifting as maybe sleep itself is going to change. That would have a massive impact on hotel. But I don't see a whole lot of other things having a massive, besides travel restriction, of course, but a massive impact on hotel. I don't know, that's just mine.
Any other thoughts out there? Yes, sir.
Natalie, you touched a bit about sustainability. But my question is, where do you see the interiors of the hotel in the future helping with that? I know any business organization, especially hotels, are very wasteful. So this question for everyone: what do you think the industry will do in the future to help minimize that, just to be more sustainable, reducing our carbon footprint?
You mean in the actual design of the space?
Yeah.
I think there's using sustainable materials and that have low VOCs, no outputs, those kind of things that can be recyclable. I think the fabrics and the textiles and the stones, woods that we use and everything can help in that. I mean, a lot of it really is, I think, in the mechanics and the HVAC systems and all of that are more so going to influence it versus actually the furniture pieces and things that we put in. But I think definitely we can do our part by using sustainable materials.
I think we need to try and normalize sustainability. What always annoys me is when it becomes this kind of specialist subject. And quite often it's down to persuading the client, the owner, to spend the extra money that at times it costs. It's just making it normal. That's just what we do. There is a scarcity of timber, so you use FSC rated or whatever it might be, and it's just part of your normal process of designing, rather than it being a specialist subject and something that is kind of unique to a project. It's actually just what we do as designers, and I think that's the important thing. And that can really come out of design schools. I think that's probably one starting point, because if young designers are trained with that thought process from the beginning, it becomes normal. My partner teaches interior design, so that's close to my heart. But also in offices, when we get young designers coming in, it's just something we want you to think about all the time, and not just on special occasions. So I think that's the key for me. It needs to be normalized and just be part of every day.
That would be an evolutionary step, wouldn't it? So it kind of seems to be what we're talking about here today. Natalie, you look like you had something.
No, I was just going to say I definitely agree with that. I mean, I think that's right on.
All right, folks, well, listen, we're hitting the hour mark, and so if we could have a round of applause for our panelists.
Thank you, guys.